Our course today will take us out beyond Pluto and then back to space dock. Just a quick run around the block.
Captain, will there be time to conduct any tests on the warp drive system?
We're picking up a distress call, Captain.
On speakers.
Hello, and welcome to Therapy, a video series that's part review, part retrospective, but mostly, I don't know, stuff. The USS Enterprise NCC 1701B. She's the second ship to bear the name Enterprise. She's the third ship to bear the name Enterprise. She's the fourth ship to bear the name whatever. She's the one from Generations. But you already know that. The lineage of the Starship Enterprise isn't too different than James Bond or Doctor Who. Like those franchises, every 10 years or so there's a new iteration that's uniquely different, but still carries on a distinct heritage. While the Enterprise B didn't have its own TV series or movie, thematically, it still fit into Generations to help convey the notion that time had passed between the voyages of Captain Kirk and Captain Picard. Well, actually the subtitle explains it. But you get what I'm saying, right? Besides Generations, she doesn't appear anywhere else in the franchise. Well, except for here. And here. But I guess those don't really count. Anyway, let's take an in-depth look at her, detailing her design evolution from the original USS Excelsior to her voyages following the events of Star Trek Generations. Speaking of the Excelsior, we'll cover her too, just cuz. This is the USS Enterprise B, Therapy. Since the Enterprise B is an Excelsior class ship, let's start with the USS Excelsior.
Excelsior! Oh.
The original design of the Excelsior was a collaborative effort between Star Trek filmmakers and ILM. Though they experimented with several different concepts before finalizing her design. Here are some of those unused designs. Some of these unused prototype models would end up on the next generation. The eventual studio model was a massive 7.5 feet. It would appear in this configuration in Star Treks 3, 4, 5, and the Next Generation. The model would be slightly refit for Star Trek 6. ILM would give her a new paint job. An updated registry number, and replace some detailing. The new bridge dome was smaller, which helped with the illusion of the scale size. It also worked out because the new bridge was actually much smaller than the bridge that they revealed in Star Trek 3.
You're gonna be a bad motherfucker.
In Season 1 of The Next Gen, the Observation Lounge featured the Enterprise family tree along its back wall. The Enterprise B would also appear in the Star Trek Technical Manual. On a side note, the Star Trek Technical Manual also speculated what the Enterprise E would look like, but that's more appropriate for another video. So the actual Enterprise B would be revealed several years later in Generations. Instead of simply reusing the existing Excelsior Class model, producers had design artists John Eves and Herman Zimmerman modify the existing model. So here's a rundown of those modifications. So the only interior of the ship to be seen clearly is the bridge. Naturally, it's a modification of the USS Excelsior bridge, which is a modification of the Star Trek VI Enterprise bridge, which is a modification of the Star Trek V Enterprise bridge. This Star Trek V bridge was quickly constructed by Herman Zimmerman when filmmakers discovered that the original refit Enterprise bridge was damaged beyond repair. And that bridge was a modification of the Star Trek II bridge, which was a modification of the Star Trek I bridge. The main differences between these bridges are basically the console configurations and maybe the color of the floor.
This rug I had, they really tied the room together.
Either way, that's a lot of bridges. So coming up, we'll cover the Excelsior class's appearances following the events of Generations, and what eventually happens with the Enterprise B. But first, let's take a quick break to watch the opening credits for Doogie Howser, for no particular reason.
Bridge, this is the captain. How can you have a yellow alert in spacetime? Execute. Execute.
For the Voyager episode Flashback, where Tuvok the dinosaur hunter flashes back to his days on the USS Excelsior, the effects team had to construct a new Excelsior starship model because they couldn't safely remove the pieces that were glued on to the original model for Generations. This new Excelsior model is faithful to the original, though they updated the nacelles to now glow blue. The Enterprise B would appear briefly in First Contact as a gold-plated model in the observation lounge.
I will make them pay!
Actually, you can pay for this model. It's a repainted toy from Playmate's Star Trek Generations toy line. So following Generations, the later adventures of the Enterprise B would be told in a few scattered novels. Sulu's daughter, Ensign Demora Sulu, is eventually appointed First Officer. Later, the ship is involved in the Tombed incident. In a nutshell, it was the incident that resulted in the Romulan Empire isolating itself from the Alpha and Beta Quadrant. Anyway, her captain,
You're my hero.
steps down and Sulu is appointed captain. Ultimately, the ship was lost in 2329 after the crew was infected with some unknown disease. Three years after that, in the year 2332, the Enterprise C would be launched. So there you have it, the Enterprise B. Thanks for watching, you Enterprise speed records.
Turning in myself, looking forward to breaking some of Enterprise's speed records tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Good night.